Matthew McConaughey, Greenlights, Your Journal, Your Journey. Take a journey of self-discovery and learning unconventional life lessons with Greenlights, Your Journal, Your Journey, by Matthew McConaughey. This engaging book summary will take you through the highs and lows of McConaughey's life, from his unconventional upbringing and early struggle with fame to his subsequent resurgence as a leading actor in Hollywood. Through tales of adventure, struggle, and self-discovery, McConaughey teaches us about pursuing our passions, embracing the unexpected, and learning from both the successes and failures in life.
Love in the McConaughey clan. Matthew McConaughey's family had a history of colorful characters and unconventional ways, including his parents' combative yet loving relationship. They instilled important values such as not to hate and never say, "I can't," in their children, shaping the person Matthew would become. Matthew McConaughey's ancestors hailed from Ireland, with their lineage traced back through England, West Virginia, and New Orleans. Some family members were cattle thieves, gamblers, or even bodyguards for notorious gangster Al Capone. Jim McConaughey, Matthew's father, was a pipe salesman in the oil industry who was born in Louisiana but raised his family in Texas. His mother, Katie, was originally from Altoona, Pennsylvania, but claimed she was from Trenton, New Jersey, as she thought the former name was unappealing. The couple's relationship was far from conventional. They were fiercely passionate, resulting in a volatile yet endearing love. A memorable incident occurred in 1974 when Matthew was only 5 years old. After asking for more potatoes at dinner, Jim received a torrent of insults from Katie, who continuously called him "fat man." Finally snapping, Jim flipped the table, leading to a ketchup-covered standoff with a phone, a knife, and ultimately, the two embracing and making love on the kitchen floor. Their tumultuous relationship led to them getting divorced twice, but each time, they remarried one another. In total, they married 3 times, with Katie's middle finger being broken on 4 separate occasions during their heated arguments. This was their way of communicating and loving each other. Matthew and his siblings were raised with similar intensity, receiving punishments for expressing hatred toward one another or uttering the phrase, "I can't." Although unconventional, the McConaughey family values emphasized the importance of love and believing in oneself. These lessons shaped Matthew into the person he is today, and his family's story is a testament to the power of love, resilience, and staying true to oneself. Outlaw Logic, a family tale. Matthew grew up surrounded by his family's unique principles, which he dubs Outlaw Logic. It shaped his notion of values and groomed him for future creative pursuits. One vivid example of outlaw logic within the family involves Matthew's oldest brother, Mike, challenged by their father to assert his manhood through a harrowing showdown that ends in newfound equality and respect. When Matthew was in 7th grade, he wanted to participate in a poetry competition. His mom advised him to submit a poem by renowned poet Anne Ashford rather than his own work. She believed that if he truly appreciated the poem, it could become his own. Though an unconventional approach, it worked, and Matthew won the contest. Matthew's mother, Katie, had a difficult upbringing and often faced unfair situations. Thus, she developed her own moral compass, consisting of unconventional values or outlaw logic, as Matthew describes it. This outlook prepared Matthew for a creative path, where unconventional thinking and storytelling were crucial. Raised on outlaw logic, Matthew's siblings also encountered it in their lives. Their father, Jim, nurtured a more dramatic version of outlaw logic, asserting that each of his sons must confront him to prove their worth as a man. One such instance involved Matthew's eldest brother, Mike. At 22, Mike followed in his father's footsteps, becoming a top pipe salesman. One night, after having a few beers, their father suggested they roll pipe, which meant stealing from a competitor's yard in the dead of night. The twist was that Jim wanted to steal from Don Knowles, one of Mike's most significant clients. Mike refused, but Jim wouldn't take no for an answer. A physical fight ensued, with Mike, weighing considerably less than his father, attempting to defend himself through various means like grabbing a wooden plank and using dirt to blind Jim. Throughout the altercation, Jim relentlessly taunted Mike about his refusal to partake in stealing Knowles's pipe. Finally, mustering his last ounce of strength, Mike warned his father that he would use the plank again if he didn't stop. But Jim didn't back down. Mike delivered another blow to his father's head, which surprisingly led Jim to embrace his son in a tearful hug. From that moment onwards, they were considered equals in the family. In summary, the unconventional values and experiences shared by Matthew's family members were instrumental in shaping their lives and relationships. This outlaw logic went beyond family dynamics, helping them navigate the rough waters of life and find their footing in the wider world. Unraveling self-discovery in Australia. At the peak of his popularity in high school, Matthew decides to embark on an exchange year to Australia, where he unexpectedly faces extreme loneliness and isolation. Through the challenges he encounters and overcomes, he discovers more about himself and forms a new perspective about life and personal development. When he was a high school senior in 1988, Matthew had it all: good looks, charm, and an enviable social life. He owned a pickup truck with a megaphone, which he used to entertain his classmates as he drove into the school parking lot. Life was rosy, and Matthew was self-assured. However, things took a drastic turn when Matthew chose to spend an exchange year in Australia with the Rotary Club. Expecting to land in Sydney, excitement was soon replaced with disappointment when his host family, the Dooleys, instead, drove him further and further away from the city. The final destination: Warner Vale, population 305, a place so remote that no other houses were in sight. Matthew's dream adventure transformed into a year-long nightmare. Despite the intense loneliness and isolation, Matthew made a commitment to the Rotary Club and himself to persevere through the whole year. He bravely faced the challenges that came his way, seeking ways to cope with the drastic change in lifestyle. To find new meaning and purpose, he experimented with vegetarianism and abstinence, and even contemplated becoming a monk to devote his life to freeing Nelson Mandela. These experiences allowed him to look inward, peeling off the layers of his identity that were built on the superficial foundations of popularity, girlfriends, and family. Little did Matthew know, this nightmarish year in Australia would become an essential turning point in his life. It forced him to dig deep into his true self and grapple with the question of who he really was. The insights he gained became building blocks for the man he is today. The story of Matthew's unexpected self-discovery in Australia serves as a poignant reminder for all of us, no matter our age. When faced with adversity, it is crucial to embrace the challenges, reinvent ourselves, and ultimately discover our true potential. Choosing passion over prestige. After returning from Australia, Matthew considered pursuing law at Southern Methodist University in Dallas. However, his father and brother encouraged him to consider the more affordable University of Texas at Austin. 2 years later, realizing that law wasn't his passion, Matthew was introduced to the idea of attending film school. Despite initial hesitation, he decided to have an honest conversation with his father, who ultimately supported his choice to follow his dreams. As Matthew returned from Australia, he had his eyes set on Dallas, particularly Southern Methodist University, for the next chapter in his life. His father, though, kept pushing the idea of attending the University of Texas at Austin instead, home of the Longhorns. Though Matthew had applied there, the appeal of Dallas, with its plentiful law firm opportunities, was hard to resist. However, his brother, Pat, intervened. He explained how their father was facing financial difficulties due to the downturn in the oil industry and that the more affordable UT Austin could ease the family's financial burden. Moreover, Pat assured Matthew that the city of Austin was perfect for him, with its vibrant and diverse atmosphere. 2 years into his law journey, Matthew felt disappointment and uncertainty regarding his career choice. He realized the lengthy process of becoming a lawyer would consume his entire 20s. In search of alternatives, his friend Rob nudged him towards a new direction. Rob, who had been reading the short stories Matthew authored, suggested giving film school a try. Film school sounded like an extravagant option at first, but soon the idea took root in Matthew's mind. Mustering the courage to call his father, he waited for the perfect moment. At 7:36 p.m., he dialed and nervously explained to his dad that law school wasn't the right fit, and he wanted to pursue film. After 5 seconds of deafening silence, his father asked if Matthew was sure about this decision. With confidence in his voice, Matthew responded positively. Supporting Matthew's choice, his dad advised him not to give it a half-hearted effort. This vote of confidence was precisely what Matthew needed, a green light to follow his passions and embark on a new path, proving that sometimes it's worth taking the road less traveled. Seizing opportunities, making breakthroughs. Matthew was determined to make an impact in film school, and through strategic networking and undeniable talent, he landed a role in Richard Linklater's film, Dazed and Confused. Even amidst personal tragedy, his commitment to success shaped his destiny. When Matthew started at the University of Texas, UT, Austin's film school, he recognized that traditional academic markers, like grades, wouldn't grant him success in the industry. He needed to create a show-stopping project or make valuable connections to launch his career. Demonstrating ambition and determination, he joined a local talent agency and secured minor roles. However, it was a serendipitous meeting that would change everything for Matthew. His bartender friend, Sam, introduced him to Don Phillips, an influential film producer scouting locations in Austin. The two bonded over shared interests in golf and vodka tonics, leading to such a memorable evening that hotel staff eventually had to escort them out. As they continued their conversation in a taxi and shared a joint, Phillips presented Matthew with an exciting opportunity, a role in the upcoming Richard Linklater film, Dazed and Confused. He simply had to show up the next day, collect the script, and prove his worth. Matthew dove into the role of Wooderson, an older man still engaged in youthful antics. Initially slated for only 3 short scenes, the character's presence expanded as Matthew embodied Wooderson's distinctive aesthetics and attitude. Linklater found Matthew's portrayal so captivating that he continued to expand Wooderson's role, ultimately employing the actor for 3 creative weeks. While working on the film, Matthew received the devastating news of his father's passing, a shocking incident that could have derailed his progress. However, even in the face of profound grief, he remained committed to his journey and continued to excel in the industry. Matthew's experience illustrates the importance of embracing opportunities and forging connections, elements that have the potential to transform one's career. By maintaining steadfast dedication even in the face of adversity, Matthew was able to create a lasting impression on not only his colleagues but also on future audiences. Unexpected stardom. While Matthew McConaughey gained initial attention with Dazed and Confused, his true rise to fame was owed to A Time to Kill. Originally considered for the role of a Ku Klux Klan leader, McConaughey sought the role of lawyer Jake Brigance. When Woody Harrelson was pulled from contention for the lead, director Joel Schumacher gave McConaughey a chance to prove himself. After going off script in a pivotal scene, McConaughey's raw, heartfelt performance earned him the role and launched him into stardom. Matthew McConaughey's journey to stardom began with Dazed and Confused, but it was his role in A Time to Kill, a film adaptation of a John Grisham book, directed by Joel Schumacher, that cemented his place in Hollywood. Initially, Schumacher considered Matthew for a Ku Klux Klan leader role, but McConaughey passionately pursued the lead role of lawyer Jake Brigance. However, Schumacher doubted the studio would approve. An unexpected twist of fate changed everything when the studio's first choice, Woody Harrelson, was deemed unsuitable for the role after a real-life murder was attributed to his film Natural Born Killers. Seizing the opportunity, Schumacher decided to film a test scene with McConaughey, hoping to convince the studio heads of his potential. Nervous yet eager, McConaughey recited the lines for a climactic courtroom scene. Schumacher felt the need for a more authentic demonstration, instructing Matthew to go off script, using his own words, and truly embody the character. This decision proved to be a stroke of genius. McConaughey embraced this challenge, pouring his heart and soul into the scene, leaving him exhausted yet triumphant. Within 2 weeks, Schumacher called him to offer the essential role. His powerful portrayal in A Time to Kill propelled McConaughey into the limelight. With the film's release, the once anonymous actor found his life transformed overnight. Matthew's casual outings, such as grabbing his favorite tuna fish sandwich, suddenly became a parade of curious onlookers. He had officially entered the realms of fame, all thanks to an unexpected chance and a director's visionary guidance. Maintaining balance amidst fame. After his rise to fame, Matthew McConaughey needed to readjust his perspective and stay grounded. A visit to the Monastery of Christ in the desert provided him with compassionate understanding and reassurance that he wasn't alone in his struggles. To further stay connected to reality, he spent 3 years traveling across North America in a mobile home, seeking authentic experiences and personal growth. Matthew McConaughey's stardom skyrocketed following the release of A Time to Kill, causing a disconnection from his sense of reality. To anchor himself amidst the whirlwind of fame, he sought a place to regain balance, the Monastery of Christ in the desert in New Mexico. Upon arrival after a long 13.5-mile walk, Matthew was welcomed by Brother Andre, who explained the monastery offered a safe haven for travelers in need. During Matthew's stay, he found solace in conversation with Brother Christian, whose compassionate ear allowed him to pour his heart out about the challenges fame had brought him. Fame, he explained, was cultivating feelings of lust and objectification, causing him to question his morality and trajectory in life. Having shared his struggles through tears, Matthew anticipated harsh judgment from Brother Christian. Instead, the listening monk responded tenderly with words of empathy and understanding, "Me too." While not a groundbreaking piece of advice, it reassured Matthew that he wasn't alone in his battles, allowing him to feel seen and understood. However, further spiritual grounding was necessary to help Matthew focus on what truly mattered. In pursuit of this, he adopted a mobile lifestyle, purchasing a 28-foot mobile home where he, his dog, Ms. Hud, and his dreams embarked on a journey across North America for 3 years. From Canada to Guatemala, Matthew explored a myriad of experiences, like attending concerts, watching baseball games, and working on film sets while immersing himself in local culture. By doing so, Matthew made sure that he remained relatable and in touch with ordinary life. He could walk into a bar in western Montana, have a lively conversation over tequila or join in a game of chance, feeling a part of a community that helped keep him grounded and true to himself. In the end, Matthew McConaughey's ventures allowed him to reconnect with his authentic self and re-establish equilibrium amidst his celebrity life. Through compassionate understanding, nurturing emotional connections, and embracing a down-to-earth lifestyle, he found balance and peace as his stardom ascended. Embracing the existential challenge. Achieving success in romantic comedies, Matthew found himself seeking more profound meaning in his life. Taking on the role of an apocalyptic dragon slayer, he underwent a transformative self-imposed regimen. Despite the physical and mental trials, the experience helped Matthew grow spiritually and reclaim his sense of purpose. Surrounded by the glitz and glamour of Hollywood, Matthew found new professional heights when his romantic comedy film, The Wedding Planner with Jennifer Lopez, revitalized his career. However, amidst his luxurious lifestyle and string of ephemeral relationships, he couldn't escape a nagging question: what's it all about? Instead of viewing this as a crisis, Matthew embraced it as an existential challenge, ready to explore the depths of his being. Soon enough, Matthew was presented with the perfect opportunity, a role in Reign of Fire. As Denton Van Zon, he would transform into an apocalyptic badass dragon slayer, a stark contrast from his romantic comedy image. Determined to immerse himself in the character, Matthew shaved his head and retreated to his brother's ranch in West Texas for a grueling 2-month mental and physical preparation. His daily regimen began with a morning double shot of tequila to channel Van Zon's proverbial dragon breath. Step 2 was a 5-mile barefoot run across the desert, aiming to develop rough soles akin to his characters. To conquer his fear of heights for the role, Matthew repeatedly perched himself on the edge of the ranch's barn rooftop. And lastly, to practice combat against colossal beasts, he'd grapple with sleeping cows in the dead of night. Predictably, Matthew's demanding routine didn't last long. The tequila soon became unbearable, the runs left his feet blistered, and he couldn't muster the courage to approach the barn's edge, not to mention the concussion from an irate cow. Nevertheless, the process left him deeply transformed. Following the physically and emotionally taxing movie shoot in Ireland, Matthew emerged bruised, battered, but spiritually stronger. By confronting the rigors of his self-inflicted regimen and the harsh reality of filming in extreme conditions, he had shed the frivolous illusions of vanity and emerged with a renewed sense of purpose, ready to turn a new page in his life. Soul-searching in the Amazon. Matthew McConaughey, grappling with sudden fame after the success of A Time to Kill, turned to a powerful, non-sexual wet dream as a catalyst for self-discovery. Venturing into the Amazon rainforest, he shed his external identity, sought introspection, and allowed nature to reveal the path of gratitude, presence, and peace. The wake of Matthew McConaughey's swift rise to stardom in the wake of A Time to Kill in 1994 is marked by a deeply symbolic wet dream. This dream transports him to the Amazon River, where he is intertwined with serpents and surrounded by an array of fierce aquatic creatures. The striking image of indigenous Africans along the shore ignites a sense of urgency within him to embark on a journey to the Amazon. Acting on this urge, Matthew ventures to Peru, taking in the breathtaking scenery of the Andes and Machu Picchu before arriving in Iquitos, the heart of the Peruvian Amazon. Here, dissatisfaction with who he has become sets in, driving him into deep introspection. In a vulnerable state, he strips himself of both physical garments and symbolic accessories that represent his identity. These items, ranging from a Texas flag amulet to tokens from his parents, shackle him to a past self that he longs to leave behind. With no pride, protection, or identity, Matthew descends into a brutal purging of his soul. Emotionally and physically drained, he wakes up the following day with a fresh perspective and newfound energy. As he explores his surroundings, he discovers a mesmerizing sight. A gigantic mass of vibrant, swirling butterflies captivate him, pulling him into a state of presence and tranquility. In the midst of this spellbinding scene, a profound realization dawns upon him: he longs only for what he can immediately see and experience. This newfound perspective frees him from the relentless pursuit of the future and opens his heart to a state of gratitude. As McConaughey takes in this revelatory moment, he finally sets his gaze upon the Amazon River. Immersing himself in the river's life-giving waters, a fleeting encounter with a mystical mermaid-like creature seals the significance of his journey. The Amazon rainforest has led him to shed his preconceived identity, reach deep within himself, and embrace the simplicity and beauty of the present moment. Unexpected adventure in Africa. An unexpected wet dream steered Matthew McConaughey towards Mali, Africa. There, he found himself immersed in a culture filled with music and mysticism, and ultimately facing a village wrestling challenge that he never could have predicted. After experiencing an intense wet dream in 1999, Matthew McConaughey felt a strong urge to travel to Africa. Despite knowing little about the massive continent, he was drawn to Nyafunk, Mali after listening to the music of African bluesman Ali Farka Touré. Matthew booked a one-way ticket to Bamako, Mali's capital, and found a local guide named Issa to help him navigate the Niger River to Nyafunk. Upon reaching Nyafunk, Matthew met Ali Farka and his family, enjoying a meal and music together. Despite the incredible experience, Matthew felt his journey was not yet complete. That's when Issa introduced him to the Dogon, a magical people living along the Bandiagara escarpment who have been receiving wisdom from the stars long before modern astronomy. Intrigued, Matthew decided to visit their village. Traveling incognito, Matthew introduced himself as Dauda, a writer and a boxer. What he didn't expect was for word to spread about the fit white man visiting their village. Soon, he was challenged to a wrestling match by Michel, the local champion. Unable to decline, Matthew entered the wrestling match with the entire village cheering them on. The wrestlers fiercely battled for 2 rounds, employing moves both traditional and inspired by the World Wrestling Federation, WWF. In what would be their final move, Michel flipped Matthew onto the ground and locked him in a scissor grip between his powerful legs. As the dust settled, the village chief declared the match a draw, lifting the arms of both exhausted contestants in the air. Though the match ended in a stalemate, the villagers chanted, "Douda! Douda," in celebration. Matthew had earned their respect by simply accepting the challenge. This unplanned adventure in Africa led Matthew on a journey filled with music, mysticism, and an unforgettable wrestling match that revealed the importance of embracing challenges and stepping outside his comfort zone. Embracing change, finding happiness. An unexpected dream acted as a sign for Matthew to reevaluate his life and find true fulfillment. Invigorated by his newfound love, Camila, Matthew boldly walked away from the allure of romantic comedies, even when he faced the risk of disappearing from Hollywood's radar. However, his courage was rewarded with newfound opportunities, leading to the era now known as the McConaissance. In 2005, Matthew already enjoyed a successful career starring in romantic comedies. Although he held no resentment for these films, he knew they weren't creatively gratifying, and it was time to embark on a new chapter in his life. This realization was reinforced by an unusual dream in which he was an 88-year-old father surrounded by his children. Recognizing his inner desire to start a family, Matthew altered his approach to search for a suitable partner. When he stopped chasing his ideal woman and let fate take its course, Camila entered his life. Their connection was electric, and Matthew knew she was the one he had been searching for. As time progressed, they continued to grow closer, cementing their bond with each passing moment. Matthew knew it was time for change, so he made a risky decision. With Camila by his side, he informed his agent that he wanted to stop acting in romantic comedies, despite the lucrative offers he was receiving. Hollywood's response was harsh, the scripts and offers entirely ceased, leaving Matthew jobless for 2 years. Nonetheless, he embraced fatherhood, which kept him busy and fulfilled. Soon, with the loving support of his family, Matthew's career began to experience an exciting revival. He started receiving roles in films like The Lincoln Lawyer, Bernie, Mud, and Magic Mike, a resurrection that would eventually become known as the McConaissance. This transformative period stemmed from his own determination to reinvent himself and venture into uncharted territory. What many people might not know is that Matthew himself coined the term McConaissance during an MTV interview. This aptly named period reflects Matthew's eagerness to step out of the comfort zone and priorities that no longer aligned with his true passions. By doing so, Matthew discovered a richer, more meaningful path in both his professional and personal life, proving that embracing change can unlock the door to happiness and success. Sculpting Matthew McConaughey's masterpieces. The amazing transformation of Matthew McConaughey saw him shedding pounds for Dallas Buyers Club and stepping into other stimulating roles. With critical acclaim and awards under his belt, Matthew's journey reveals the secret to success, getting relative with the inevitable. When Matthew McConaughey dove into the script of Dallas Buyers Club in 2007, he became enamored with the idea of playing Ron Woodroof, a real-life figure who devised his own method to distribute HIV medication. It wasn't until 2012 that the production wheels began turning with Canadian director Jean-Marc Vallée stepping in. Though concerned about Matthew's physicality, as the actor was known to be in good shape, Matthew's determination to convincingly portray the ailing Woodroof won Vallée over. The duo set an ambitious target to begin filming in October 2012, leaving Matthew a mere 5 months to undergo a drastic physical transformation. Being disciplined and determined, he consumed a restrictive diet that saw him losing 2.5 pounds weekly. When Matthew reached 157 pounds, he took a detour in Martin Scorsese's The Wolf of Wall Street, improvising an unforgettable performance as a cocaine-fueled broker. To understand Ron Woodroof on a more intimate level, Matthew was graciously invited into Woodroof's family home, where he was granted access to the man's diary and voice recordings. These priceless resources granted Matthew the insight needed to render a performance that garnered both acclaim and awards. Simultaneously, the gritty series True Detective saw Matthew collaborating with close friend Woody Harrelson. As the enigmatic Rustin Cole, Matthew was able to further diversify his acting prowess and deepen his on-screen presence. Matthew's journey into these stirring roles shaped him not just as an actor but as a person. Giving life to distinctive characters from the inside out, he's tapped into an untamed drive and unearthed the secret to success, embracing life's inevitable end and cultivating experiences that are relative to one's own journey. Matthew's story serves as an inspiration for us to probe deeper into our lives and make the most of every experience, remembering that our ultimate destiny lies in our hands. It's about making the right choices, seizing opportunities, and reaping the green lights along the way. Now, the stage is set for you to embark on your own thrilling adventure.
As we reach the end of our journey through the Greenlights, your journal, your journey, you now have a greater understanding of the resilience and determination that Matthew McConaughey possesses. Facing challenges head-on, be it personal or professional, has strengthened his character and allowed for continued growth. The stories shared in the book reveal the importance of chasing your dreams, forging your own path, and finding fulfillment in both the everyday and the extraordinary moments of life. By embracing change, staying open to life's lessons, and pursuing authentic happiness, you too can achieve your own version of a green light a life.